all the numbers into the same piece. So the clue is for all of the number you have to change it into index form, and then if it's already in the index form, you have to make sure that their piece it will be the same. So for the question A, we have 2 to the power of x is equals to 4. So now for the number 4s, we can change it into index form. 4 will be equals to how many to the power of how many for the number 4?
2 power 2.
Okay, we can replace it into 2 to the power of 2. So now we will have it as 2 to the power of x is equals to 2 to the power of 2. As you can see, the base is already the same. All of them is already in the power of 2. So the number 2 we can cancel. We can directly focus at the power x is equals to 2. So the final answer in the question A, x is equals to 2. Any question? Or maybe my explanation is too fast? No? If you have no question, let us continue to the question B. For the question B, we have 2 to the power of x is equals to 16. So using the same rule, the number 16, we have to change it into the same piece. Anyone want to tell me? 16, we can change it into 2 to the power of how many?
4.
Yeah, okay. So now we only focus at the power. We will have x is equals to 4. Any question? No? Okay, if no question, move to the question C. Now we have 64. The number 64, we can change it into 4 to the power of how many?
3.
Okay, we have it as 4 to the power of 3. So now we have x is equals to 3. Thank you. For the question D, we have 10 to the power of x is equals to 1000. Now for the number 1000, we need to change it into any index number. What number it will be? 10 to the power of how many?
3.
3. So from here, we get that x is equals to 3. For the question E, we have 625. We can change the 625 into any index number. It will be 5 to the power of how many?
25.
Okay, you can make it as 25 to the power of 2. That is also okay, because 625 is equals to 25 times 25. But the rule is you have to make the number having same piece. So the 25 in here, you can replace it into another index number. You know that 25 is equals to 5 to the power of 2. The 25, we can replace it into 5 to the power of 2 because the 25 is getting a power of 2. So the 5 to the power of 2 output will get the power of 2. In the end, we will make it as 5 to the power of 4. Any confusion? No? If no confusion, so now we have 5 to the power of x is equals to 5 to the power of 4. So it means the x is equals to 4. Any question? Hello? No? If you do not ask anything, I will assume all of you already understand. For the question F, we have 3x is equals to 1. So you have to change the 1 into 3 to the power of something. 3 to the power of how many? Yeah, it will be equals to 1.
0.
Yeah. 0. Okay, so now we can take the power only. We have that x is equals to 0. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? And for the question 1, I think for the question 1 is still easy. But if you have any question, please let me know. I can repeat the explanation if you still have any question. No question? Okay. If you really have no question, let us move to the question 2. For the question 2, the rule will be the same. You have to make sure that all the numbers that you have will be in the same base of indices. So like for number 8, you can change it into 2 to the power of how many for number 8? Any suggestion from anyone? How many is 8?
2 power 3.
Okay. Is my students today only Janice and also Michael Gerardo? The other students are not telling me anything. If you have any confusion, please feel free to tell me. Maybe my intonation sounds like I'm mad, but I'm not mad if you ask me any question. Don't be afraid to ask me any question. So now we have to solve the equation that is using the indices. So on the left side, we have z is -1. On the right side, we have it 3. So now we have z -1 is equals to 3. So later on, the z, it will be equals to how many? Anyone knows? Hello?
4.
Yes, correct. It will be 3 plus 1, which is equals to 4. Do you have any confusion? Or everything is already easy? If everything's already easy, let me write all of the final answer. Hello, please kindly join the discussion. Do not keep being quiet. The one who needs to study is you, so please check it. If you are still having any confusion, tell me which one that is confusing for you, so I can try to make it more clear. If you really have no question, I will move to the question B. The 27 also, we have to make it into any index number. It will be 3 to the power of how many for 27?
3.
Okay. So now we only have the power. We are going to simplify the power. We have z plus 2 is equals to 3. So the z will be equals to how many?
1.
Okay, thank you. Any question? No? Okay, if you really have no question, I will continue to the question C. We have 64. The 64, we can change it into 4 to the power of how many?
3.
3. So now we just calculate the power. We have 2z is equals to 3. So it means the z will be equals to 3 divided by 2, or we can make it into a decimal, become 1.5. Or if you want to write it as 1 and 1 per 2, that is also fine. Any question? Any question? No question? Okay, if you really have no question, I will move to the question D. We have 1. We have to make it into the same piece, so it will be 10 to the power of how many?
0.
Okay. So now we have z plus 1 is equals to 0. So the z will be equals to how many?
-1.
Okay, today I only have Michael Gerardo as my students. I don't know where are my other students. Yeah, it will be equals to -1. The chat box is empty. You really have no question? If you are too shy to ask, you can type the question through the chat box. There is an option to message me privately, so no one will know that you have any confusion. I will not mention your name if it is a private message. So please kindly tell me if you have any confusion. If you really have no confusion, I will continue to the question E. For the question E, we have the same rule. We have to make everything into the same piece. That's why the number 9 in here, we can change it into 3 to the power of 2. So now we will have it as 3 to the power of 2 to the power of z minus 1 on the right side. And then at the last side, you will be having 3 to the power of z still. So now all of them is already in the power of 3 or having base of 3. We can cancel the number 3. After we cancel the number 3, we can focus at the power only. On the left side, we have z. On the right side, we have 2 open bracket z minus 1. So now we have to calculate this and simplify this. So now it will be z is equals to 2z minus 2. That's why in the end, later on, we have to make all the z in the same side. So it will be z minus 2z is equals to negative 2. Z minus 2z, the answer it will be negative 1z, or you can write it as negative z, will be equals to negative 2. So later on, the z, it will be equals to negative 2 divided by negative 1, which is equals to 2. Any question, or maybe my voice is laggy for you? Suddenly I cannot see anyone.
Wait, teacher.
Yes, what happened?
The first one, z equals to 2, and then open bracket, z minus 1. How can teacher change to 2z minus 2?
2z minus 2. Okay then. Thank you for telling me. Now, maybe you forget we have learned this in the when you are in grade 8. When you have a bracket stuff in here, you have to multiply everything inside the bracket with the number next to the bracket, or on the number in the left side of the bracket. The number on the left side of bracket is 2, so it means the number 2, I will multiply it with z. The number 2 also I need to multiply it by negative 1. That's why I get 2z minus 2. Is it clear or is it still confusing, Mike?
It's clear.
Okay. How about the others? Do you have any question for the other students? If you have any question, feel free to tell me. You can unmute yourself and ask me any question, or you can text me the question through the chat box. I'm fine. No question for sure? For sure, no question? Okay. If you really have no question, I will move to the question F. For the question F, we have 5 to the power of z and also 125 to the power of z. Again, using the same rule, we have to make all the numbers into the same piece. That's why for the 125, we can make it as a power of 5. It will be 5 to the power of how many for 125? 5 to the
Power
power
3.
of 3, correct. So we have 5 to the power of 3 for 125. The 125 is getting a power of z. That's why the 5 to the power of 3 also needs get the power of z. So we can simplify this. In the end, we will have 5 to the power of z is equals to 5 to the power of 3z. Any question? Is there any question? So when you are solving this, you can prepare your summary. I already asked you to make summary. Some of you already submitted also, so you can check it. You can use it to solve the question, because when you are when there is a question about exponential equation, you will be needing all of the laws. You need to simplify all of the equation using the laws that you have learned. That's why please kindly prepare the summary and then use it wisely to solve the question. Now we already have the same base. It means we can cancel the base. This is the base we can cancel. We can directly focus to the powers. The powers we have it as z is equals to 3z. Now all the c has to move into a same side. So I will move all the c to the left. The 3z is positive, move to the other side, it will be negative. And then the 3z already moved to the left side, it means on the right side it's empty. Nothing left on the right side, because the 3z already we broke it to the left side. Now we can simplify the z minus 3z. It will be equals to negative 2z is equals to 0. So later on the z it will be equals to 0 divided by negative 2. Z is equals to 0. Any question? Any question? Any question?
No, teacher.
No? Okay, I know Mike is paying attention. How about the others? Is there anyone having any question?
Teacher, can you repeat again?
Which one that I need to repeat? Which number?
The the F.
Or the F? Okay. For the F, we have 5 to the power of z is equals to 125 to the power of z. Whenever we have to solve the exponential equation, the first thing that we have to do, we have to change all the numbers or all the equation given into the same piece. That's why for the 125, we also have to simplify it or make it into index form. 125, it will be equals to 5 to the power of 3. If you get confused how to get 5 to the power of 3, you can use the factor 3. I think I always remind you that you always can use the factor 3. Like when we have 125, This is 125. We can break down into 5 times 25. And then the 25 we can break down into 5 times 5. So in the end, we can see there are 3 numbers of 5. That's why it can be 5 to the power of 3. And then the 125 is getting power of z. That's why the 5 to the power of 3 will get a power of z also. And then power mid powers, you can check your index laws. Power mid powers we do times. That's why we multiply the 3 and z, it will be 3z. So now when the base is already the same, we can cancel all the base. We can cancel the number 5. Now with the leftover one is the indices. So on the left side, we have z as the index. On the right side, we have 3z as the index. So we can combine them. Z is equals to 3z. Now, using the same method like you did in the question E, you have to make all the letters into the same side. That's why in here for the 3z also I need to bring it to the left side. So this is the 3z. 3z is positive, right? When it is positive, move to the other side, it will be the opposite. That's why I get negative 3z. Because the 3z from the right side is positive, move to the other side, it will be the opposite. That's why it will be z minus 3z. If it is only z, it means it's actually 1z. So now we calculate 1z minus 3z. If you get confused, you can focus at the number only. So you can calculate 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3, the answer, it will be negative 2. And then you put the letter z. So that's why for 1z minus 3z, it will be equals to 2z. And then since the 3z already moved to the left side, it means there is nothing left on the right side. Because nothing left on the right side, we make the right side into 0. It means the right side is empty because all of the terms of all of the numbers already I move it to the right side. Now we will have negative 2z is equals to 0. So later on for finding the z, it will be 0 divided by negative 2, which is equals to 0. Is it clear enough or is it still confusing for you, Rahmat? Hello? Is it clear enough? Or maybe my explanation
Teacher, explain one more time. I didn't hear properly.
Oh my god. Am I talking too fast? Okay, I'll try to repeat.
Teacher, my breath is kind of loud.
Oh, okay then. So now we have 5 from the 125 into 5 to the power of 3. Do you get confused? From the 125 into 5 to the power of 3, do you get confused, Rahmat, Michael Rahmat? No?
What, teacher? What?
From 5 to the power of 3, from 125 into 5 to the power of 3, do you get confused if I change the 125 into 5 to the power of 3? Do you get confused? No. If you have no confusion, so in here we will have, this is power mid powers. We are going to use the laws a to the power of m, bracket to the power of n. The result, it will be a to the power of m times n, right? You can check your
Teacher, I understand
index
now.
laws.
Never mind, I understand now.
Okay. Okay, so now we have this kind of, that's why we multiply 3 and z. When we multiply 3 and z, it will be 3z. Now, if you get, yeah, so in here we get 3z for the index on the right.
I understand now.
Yeah, someone is
understand.
yeah, okay. I know you understand, but someone just text me through the chat box. Need explanation, so I will repeat again. So in here we have z, so the 3z in here, I need to move it to the left side. The 3z is positive. If positive, move to the other side, it will be the opposite. Opposite of positive, it will be negative. That's why now for z minus 3z, it will be equals to negative 2z. If you get confused, why is it negative 2z? Maybe if I will rewrite it again, z minus 3z, if there is no number at z, it means there is a number 1 on it. If it is too confusing for you to calculate the algebraic term, you can focus at the number only. This is the number is 1, and for this part the number is negative 3. So now you just focus for 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3, the result it will be negative 2. And then you take the variable is letter z, so that's why you put it as negative 2z. I hope it is clear enough for those who ask me any question, or is it still confusing? Clear? No question? Everyone? Suddenly I cannot see you. Am I still connected to you? Okay. If you have no, okay, I can see your picture now. If you have no question, I will move to the question 3. Please let me know if you have any question. Do not keep being quiet. Maybe my explanation, like if you think my explanation is too fast, you can remind me also through the chat box. Remind me, teacher, slow down or anything. I will be slow down if you really tell me. Now we have a question 3. For the question 3, we have a fraction. So using the same rule, we have to make everything into the same piece. If you get confused, you have to check through your summary. I think since 3 weeks ago, we already know that when we have x 1 per x to the power of n, it will be the same thing as x to the power of negative n. Now for the question A, we have 1 per 2. If it is only number 2, it means there is a hidden power, which is power 1. We can write it as 1 per 2 to the power of 1. From this number, we can make it into index number by following this index laws. So now it will be 2 to the power of negative 1 to the power of n. Is there anyone who get confused when I simplify the left side expression? Is there anyone who get confused? No? If you
No.
No? Okay. So now we have number 8. We have to make everything into the same piece. So it means for the 8 also we have to change it into power of 2. 8 it will be equals to 2 to the power of how many?
3.
Okay. So now we have 2 to the power of 3. For 2 to the power of negative 1 to the power of n, we follow the index laws that we have learned. So it will be 2 to the power of negative n is equals to 2 to the power of 3. The base is already the same. Now we simplify the base. We cancel the base. The leftover one, we only have negative n is equals to 3. So now we can write it as negative n is equals to 3. So later on, the n it will be equals to negative 3. Any question so far? Or maybe my explanation is too confusing. I know it's already like late, or maybe you already get tired. Same here, I also get tired. I've been teaching since morning. So if you have any question, please let me know. So I can try to re-explain it again to you. No question? Okay. If you really have no question, I will move to the question B. We have 1 per 3. So same thing, we have to make it into the same piece. We make it into 3 to the power of negative 1 for 1 per 3. And then for the 3 to the power of negative 1 per 3 is getting power of n. So we can make it as 3 to the power of negative 1 to the power of n is equals to, okay, I will try to repeat again. For the question 3a, that's why I told you, please kindly finish your homework about making the summary for all of the index laws. So far, I only received like 12 students who already submit the homework. The other students haven't submitted back. That's why you always get confused. So please kindly make summary for all of the index laws. Do not only write the index laws, but put the example question also. So later on, it will be easier for you to understand. Now for the question A, we have 1 per 2. It is a fraction. As you know, yesterday we already discussed some example whenever we have to solve the exponential equation, we always have to make everything into the same base. We have to change all the numbers, we have to simplify all of the expression into index form. So now this is 1/2 is a fraction. We have to make it as index form, or we have to make it into any number which is having power. So now this is the index laws. When we have 1 per x to the power of n, it will be equals to x to the power of negative n. So the fraction will be gone. The power will change, become negative power. So now for the 1/2, there is no power at denominator. It means we can add our power, it will be power 1. So we can make it as 1/2 to the power of 1. Now for cancelling the fraction, we can make it as indices, but the power will be negative. That's why we get it as 2 to the power of negative 1. The 1/2 is having power of n. That's why the 2 to the power of negative 1 will also have a power of n. Now we simplify this equation, not this expression, this algebraic, using the index law that we have learned. A to the power of m to the power of n, it will be equals to a to the power of m times n. The m is negative 1, the n it is still the same as n. So now we multiply negative 1 times n. Negative 1 times n, it will be equals to negative n. That's why we can write it as 2 to the power of negative 2n, which is equals to 2 to the power of 3. Now we already have two indices with the same base. We can simplify, or we can cancel all the base. So now we only focus at the indices or the powers only. On the left side, we have a power of negative n. That's why we write the negative n. On the right side, we have a power of negative 3. That's why we write it as negative n is equals to 3. That's why the n, it will be equals to negative 3. Is it clear enough for those who ask me any question, or am I going too fast? You can tell me. Is it clear? Is it clear? For sure? Okay. If it is already clear enough, I move to the question B. For the question B, we have 1/3 to the power of n. The 1/3, it means 1/3 to the power of 1. Using the index laws, I make it become 3 to the power of negative 1 to the power of n. The 81, we can make it into 3 to the power of 4. If you ask me how do I get the power of 4, you can use the factor 3. After that, the 81, you need to divide it by 3. And then in the end, you have to count how many numbers 3 are there. There are 4 numbers of number 3. That's why I can make it as 3 to the power of 4. Now for the 3 to the power of negative 1 to the power of n, we can simplify it, become 3 to the power of negative n. The 3 to the power of 4 will remain the same. That's why now we have 3 to the power of negative 3 to the power of negative n is equals to 3 to the power of 4. Now the base is already the same. We can cancel the base. All the numbers 3 we can cancel. So now we only focus at the power. From the power, we have negative n and also 4. So if we have to find the n, it will be negative 4. Is there anyone having any confusion so far? Or my explanation is too fast? No? If you really have no question, I will move to the question C. The question C, for the 1/2 to the power of n, we already have it from the question 1. We can directly write it as 2 to the power of negative n. It's already exactly the same as the question A. So I can directly write it as 2 to the power of negative n. Number 32, it will be 2 to the power of 5. So it means we have negative n is equals to 5. Oopsie. And then the 5, the n, it will be equals to negative 5. Any question? Any question?
No.
No? Okay. If no question, move to the question D. For the question D, we still have 1 per 2 to the power of n. So we can directly write it as 2 to the power of negative n. It is the same thing as the question 3a. For number 4, remember we have to make everything into the same piece. That's why for number 4, we have to make it into 2 to the power of something. Can you tell me 4 is 2 to the power of how many?
2.
Okay.
Power 2.
Okay. So now we make it as 2 to the power of 2 for the number 4. But you have to see the number 4 is getting power of n plus 1. That's why the 2 to the power of 2 also will be having a power of n plus 1. Now we can cancel all of the number 2 because the base is already the same. Now we only focus at the power. On the left side, we have negative n. On the right side, you have 2 open bracket, n plus 1 close bracket. So now we have to simplify the bracket first using the rainbow rules. So the 2 we will have to multiply it by n become 2n. The 2 we multiply it by 1, it will be equals to 2. All the n have to be in the same side. That's why I move the 2n into the left side. It will be negative 2n. The number 2, it will be stay at the right side still. Now we have negative n minus 2n. It will be the same thing as minus 1n, negative 1n minus 2n. So the final answer, it will be negative 3n. Negative 3n is equals to 2, so it means the n, it will be equals to negative 2 per 3. Any question? Any question?
No.
For sure? No question? If you really have no question, let us move to the question E. We still have 1 per 2. So we have to simplify the 1 per 2. Let us make it into 2 to the power of negative 1. 2 to the power of negative 1 get another power of n plus 1. So put the bracket for the powers that having more than one term. You have to put bracket at that place. And then if it is only 2, it means it is 2 to the power of 1, not 2 to the power of 0. Now the base is already the same. We can cancel all of the base. Number 2 we can cancel. So now we only equating the indices only. So it will be negative 1 open bracket n plus 1 is equals to 1. So the negative 1 we have to multiply by everything inside the bracket. That's why it will be negative 1n minus 1 is equals to 1. Since all the numbers have to be in the same side, I will move the negative 1 on the other side. So it will be 1 plus 1. It becomes plus because negative 1 is negative. When it's moved to the other side, it will be opposite. Opposite of negative is positive. That's why we write it as negative n is equals to 1 plus 1. So later on, the negative 1n, it will be equals to 2. The n, it will be equals to negative 2. Any question? Or maybe my explanation is too fast? Any question? Oh, how do I get 3n? For which number is it? Can you tell me which number that you asked me about 3n? Oh, okay. For the D, okay. Thank you for telling me. So in here we have negative n. Where do, yeah. Okay, wait. We have negative n minus 2n. If there is no number on it, it means there is a number 1 that is invisible. So now we read it as negative 1n minus 2n. If you get confused, as I told you before, ignore the letters, just focus on the number. So if we focus on the number, we have negative 1, we have minus 2. Negative 1 minus 2, it will be negative 3. And then we put the letter after that. Is it clear? Or is there anyone having any question?
Teacher, so if there's, I'm talking about E, teacher. So if only 2, so there's a hidden power, so always 2 power 1.
Yes. If it is only a normal number, it will be the power of 1. It's always power of 1, never power of 0. So if there is no power on it, it means the number is having power which is power 1. Any question before we continue to the question F? No question? If you have no question, let us move to the question F, the last question. Because this is 4, we can make it as 4 to the power of 1. While 16 is 4 to the power of 2. Is there anyone who disagree if I change 16 into 4 to the power of 2? Is there anyone who disagree? I hope no one disagree, right? So now we have a 1 per 4 to the power of 2 to the power of n is equals to 4 to the power of 1. We can simplify inside the bracket using the index laws. So we have 4 to the power of negative 2 and then get another power of n is equals to 4 to the power of 1. Using the index laws, power mid powers we do time. So we can have as 4 to the power of negative 2n is equals to 4 to the power of 1. So now when the base is already the same, we only focus at the power only. So the power on the left side, it will be negative 2n. On the right side, we have it as 1. So the n, it will be equals to negative 1 per 2. Any questions so far? Or my explanation is not clear enough, you can tell me. If you have no question, I think that's all for today's class. Good afternoon and thank you, students. If you have any question, you can stay and ask me any question.
Afternoon and thank you, teacher.
Afternoon, thank
Anyone who has any question? Brandon, Helena, and Michelle.